Learning how to hold the violin correctly on your chin is the first step in your musical journey on learning how to create beautiful music on one of the world's most beautiful instruments. So it's not a hard thing to do as long as you keep a few things in mind. And these things I divide into two categories. Category number one is what to do with the muscles around your shoulder and what to do with your left hand. Because when you're playing violin, the left side of your body contacts the violin in two places. Here at the back of the instrument and also at the neck. So let's just explore those two things separately. Okay, so where to position the back of the instrument? Okay, the violin, if you're holding correctly, doesn't go in front of you. It's best positioned on the side with the scroll pointing 45 degrees to the left. And I like to balance the back edge of the violin right on my collarbone. Your collarbone's right here. And if you do that, it rests it can rest right on that bone and it has a very good stable positioning. Okay. And then the scroll, I point it 45 degrees to the left. Okay. So that's the contact on the shoulder side of the instrument. Okay. Here's the thing though. If you look underneath, there's this big space between my shoulder and the instrument. Okay. Some common bad habits that you'll see is some people, to increase the feeling of stability, they'll kind of raise their shoulder up like this to have extra support for the instrument. That's not advisable. That kind of tension in the long run will lead to injury. So I think there's two solutions what to do about this need to have a little bit extra stability. Because as you can see, if you just rest the violin on the collarbone, there's a lot of freedom of movement, and that can feel unstable, especially in the beginning of your playing. So in order to gain a little bit more stability, some people will add a device to the back of the instrument called a shoulder rest. And here's a good example of one. They come in all different shapes and sizes. This kind clamps to the back of the instrument. And the job of the shoulder rest is to create more contact with the instrument. So instead of just having the edge of the violin resting on your collarbone, you can have some contact with the back of the instrument without propping your shoulder up in a tense manner. So here we go. I'm going to put the edge of the instrument on my collarbone, and then the shoulder rest will just provide a little bit of support. Yeah, and see now it looks very stable, and I can even hold the violin hands-free. Okay. Even though you can hold the violin hands-free, you have to be careful with this kind of arrangement because the tendency with this is to clamp down with your chin and your shoulder. That can be a big source of tension too, so you want to avoid that because that will also lead to injury. And a good way to avoid doing that is to support the violin a little bit with your left hand. Okay. In the olden days, before the shoulder rest was invented, the violin technique was a little bit different. While the violin is resting on your collarbone, without a shoulder rest, it helps to help support the violin with your left hand. So if you put the tip of your thumb on one side, and then contact the violin with the first knuckle of your left hand on the other side, you can sort of cradle the violin like a cue stick, and then it's supported. So as you can see, I'm balancing the violin here on my collarbone. There's a little bit of space, and I have the thumb and first finger cradling the neck of the instrument. That's a good arrangement too. This has some drawbacks, because as you get more advanced and you need to slide up to grab higher notes, it can be a little bit tricky because it's hard to slide your hand up the neck while you're also contacting the instrument here and instrument here. So in my own playing, I like to balance the support of the instrument between both the shoulder and the left hand. So I usually play with the shoulder rest, so let me put the shoulder rest back on. And my golden ratio is I'm holding with, I hesitate to use the word, but I'll use it. I sort of grip the instrument with my chin and shoulder. I'm using about 60% of my energy to hold the instrument this way, and I'm doing 40% of the holding with my hand. So they're working together to balance the instrument. This can cause a lot of tension, and then this one can create problems if you're trying to in mobility when it's time to get to the high register. But a good balance, my balance is 60% holding with the chin and 40% holding with the left hand, thumb, and first knuckle. That's a good place to start holding the violin. Okay, I hope this is helpful. Next time I'll continue with lesson number 2, how to hold the bow.